Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
What's going on, everybody? This is Critical Failure. You were listening to Tiger Claw Radio, episode 197. Time marches on, and 197 episodes of Tiger Claw Radio have now been produced for your ear satellites to enjoy. Just a reminder, we do have an archive that is live. All of you guys who've been with me a long time know all about this, but hundreds of hours available for you to listen to. Coming up at the end of the summer, we're going to do the Monstercast, Monstercast 2, which is going to be a big, very, very large marathon episode, which will be several hours long. And I'm doing preparations for that, so that should be something to look forward to. Coming up, this episode, as always, got some good chip tunes to listen to. Have some really interesting van casting that has been van casted as no other van cast has been done before. And I think it's gonna be a good one. So hang with me. This track is called Found, and it is from Panda Star. Panda Star, right? I gotta be honest, I can't remember if I got this from U Collective or from chipmusic.org, but it is available. Do a bit of searching and get yourself a copy of the MP3. I think you'll find this interesting. I decided to run a little experiment. I wanted to do my start of the week van casting after work instead of on the way to work. And what ended up was it just happened to fall on a day when I left the office furious. No particular reason, not particularly upset at anybody, just one of those days where I walked out of work ready to be home. And what came out as a result had a very unique energy. Let's take a listen.
It's the Vancast. That's right. Tuesday afternoon. It is 5:04 p.m. It is overcast, sticky outside. It rained, and I'm driving home. I'll tell you what. Sure, I'm feeling stressed. Sure, I'm feeling pretty stressed. Sure could use some video games. Hey there, it sure is good to see you in the office, here in the cubes, here in the cubicles. I sure am happy to be here today. That is here in my car, driving home now, ready to go home and play some video games. You know, I've played, last week we talked briefly about Doom, right? Doom came up in the emails, in the comments. We experienced a comment together as a family from our dear friend Sean, the Gaming Beast 87, 1981 meme, and he said, let's play some Doom. So I've taken that to heart as of lately, and I took my secondary computer, which I built specifically to play modern games, and I played Doom 2 WADs on it. And let me tell you, it sure did feel right inside. And actually, playing Doom 2 again raised a really important point. Death Adder, I hope you're listening. I hope you're clearing out your eardrum holes for this one. You talked about, and this is in response to the Death Adder Super Show, the Death Adder Fun Hour, which I'm having a dialogue with. We're having a dialogue 1 hour of podcasting at a time, which is the best way to have a conversation with another human being, especially when there's no guarantee they're listening. So let's go, Death Adder. Let's talk some video games. Am I talking about our dear friend TJ Combo? No, it's about FPSs this time. And you mentioned that you didn't really feel it for FPSs anymore, but you gave the nod to old Doom, our old pal Doomski. And you just thought the new FPSs just didn't have the zazz. They just weren't popping like they were back in 1981 when Doom came out. So I went back and played Doom 2. Played some WADs. And the particular WAD of choice would be the Doom 2 Japanese Community Pack. Japanese Community Pack, which I believe is what it's called, but you'll have to give me a break if I got that slightly wrong, because I'm in the van. I have the feeling if you Google those words, Doom WAD, and then that, you'll find it. The reason why I chose that one in particular is because I wanted what they call a mega WAD, or rather, a WAD that replaces all levels, like a complete new level pack. But I also wanted it to be using the basic Doom 2 assets, right? We're not talking about new monsters, we're not talking about new guns, there's no gags, there's no jokes, it's just some new levels. Familiar action, but new mazes to conquer. And one of the great things about Doom 2 is getting away from FPSs, but one of the great things about those early games in their mod scene was the people, right? This is a WAD that's all about the people. Doom is not big in Japan, or at least the Doom 2 mod scene was not big in Japan. So they really had to get a tight-knit, small group together, and everybody chipped in a level. So there's a lot of cooperation and humanity that went into this WAD set, and I gotta be honest, I'm really enjoying it. I was expecting it to be a little unbalanced, because with so many people contributing levels, I figured, I'd get the BFG in the first level, and then I'd, go into the next level, and then I'd have overpowered weapons. But no, it actually, I got through the first 10 levels, maybe 9 or 10 levels roughly, maintaining a pretty solid balance of the weapons that I have versus what threats I'm facing. So really impressed with that. It has an altered title screen, but everything else has been the same. Some altered music. So the right custom touches in the right places, but very familiar everywhere else. Exactly what I needed. And here's the point I'm making. When I played it again, it just felt right. And my boy Death Adder, I think this is something I want to. I would like you to test this theory. I don't think we have changed in this regard. I think the shooter has changed, because even if you don't like FPSs today, I think if you went back and played some Doom 2 at its very, very best, I think the magic would still be there. So that opens the question, logically, what happened? What's different if you decided to play something like, say, Metro 2033, where you have to use bullets as currency to buy things? I don't know. I think maybe it's the humanity. I think that the simple community of all of these WADs that I can get from people of varying degrees of quality, right? It's not the same thing if you get a simple level remix versus like a complicated kind of, total conversion kind of thing. I don't know. This is also something I haven't put a whole heck of a lot of thought into. So I'll think more on that and get back to you. But the ultimate takeaway, Death Adder, I would love it if I could talk you into playing Doom 2 again, just for a few minutes, and just tell me what you feel. Just tell me what notes you come up with when you play Doom 2 in 2017. I think that would be a worthwhile experiment. I hope your trip to Japan was going well. And I look forward to hearing episode 18 of the Death Adder Super Show Hour Fun Time upon your return. Safe travels, my friend. And while we're on the subject, let's go back to your 5-star game list. A very sensitive point of contention between me and my fellow podcasting compatriot Death Adders, who placed Life is Strange on his list and said I shouldn't belittle a game I've never played. And to that, I have to concede you are correct. I would have to play the game in order to really say it's bad. So let's find this middle ground, my friend. I wrote this down and I wanted to leave it as a comment on your podcast, but I was listening to it in the car, so it's difficult to get those thoughts back to your comment section, which is why I'm taking the time to do it here. Can we find this middle ground wherein I will go back and give Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo a solid chance, which is easy to do now with emulation and whatnot. I mean, with buying the game on eBay. I'll give Killer Instinct another try now as an adult, but don't make me play Life is Strange. Okay? I will do that for you, my friend. I think those were the biggest things I had in mind. Apart from that, it's been business as usual here at Panzer Studios Mobile, aka the Vancast. I played some Weeb some weeb visual novels, which I regretted. I don't know, man. Here's what I think when I see the visual novels on the Steams. I have the feeling that visual novels have this following, and there's this culture that enjoys that form of media. And then there's the visual novels that appear on Steam, and the people who enjoy those must look at the Steam selection and be like, this is the worst of what we have to offer. That's the impression that I get. I know we've got at least one who hangs around. Kaiser, my man, do you dig the visual novels? What am I doing wrong? Shintai used to listen to the show years ago. He told me I should play a game called Katawa Shoujo, and I never did. Perhaps I should go back and enjoy the story / dating sim of handicapped people, which I think is what that game / visual novel was. Just a few notes and frustration that I played a visual novel and kept pressing the space bar until it was completed. When in retrospect, I think I should have spent the however many hours it was just playing Doom. That's a thing. Again, on my way home right now. It's been a long day at the offices. Looking forward to struggling with my machines, finding something good to play, and just relaxing on my favorite sitting object, which will vary depending on where I settle. I would like to get, speaking of things to sit on, I would like to get a bar stool with a cushion on it. A nice solid bar stool. I have a stool, but it's got that wooden top. I want a cushioned bar stool to put in front of my CRT. So I have a CRT that sits on top of a dresser. It's elevated more than the average television is or was or whatnot. But I have a bar stool, which is somewhat high to compensate, and it ends up being a very cozy little place to play the original Nintendo. It's very nice, and it takes up very little space. The problem is the lack of cushion on the bar stool starts to wear on me rather quickly. So I can play about 30 minutes or so before it really becomes a problem. Dr. Mario has been brought back to the surface for me in a game I'm playing while I wait for my Famicom stuff to show up in the mail. I got a great big box of Famicom games, and I still don't have the converter from AliExpress. And what's worrying me about this is that AliExpress did not provide an expected date of arrival. I just have, sometime it's going to come in the mail, you just got to keep your eyes open. You just got to keep checking that front stoop, and I tell you what you got to do, you got to pray. You got to just hope beyond hope that the mailman doesn't get lost and it doesn't end up uninsured on somebody else's doorstep. Ah, boy. Wouldn't that be sad? So we'll see. Again, this is like a test run for AliExpress. I look at the shop and it's like really neat. It's really neat. I've done a lot of searching there since Sendu brought it up, but this is really, I'm really hoping this goes well. It's a test of the first steps into a lot of things. Where are we at now? 13 minutes? Yeah, I guess I could call that it. I have my evening pretty much laid out for me. And we will see how that goes. Alright, boys and girls, I hope you are having a good one, and I'll see you back at Panzer Studios, where it's nice and comfortable.
We got more Vancast coming up on Tiger Claw Radio, but first let's play a track to smooth things off. just a little bit. This is called Stranger Things from Knuckless, right here on Tiger Claw Radio. Is it still going? Yeah. I don't like to cut the songs off. That one's kind of a weird one, because the first half of it, I feel like it takes some time getting going, then it gets going, and then I feel like it's over before it's really, I don't know, it feels like a work in progress track, but I feel like it's pretty close to being an awesome song. Pretty close. But it's one that left an impact on me. So I thought I'd share it with you here on the Tiger Claws of the radio. So now that we've all had a chance to calm down from the excitement, let's return to the Vancast.
Thursday morning. I've had the chance to calm down a little bit since the last Vancast. I'm feeling better. I think it's going to be a good day. I'm looking forward to the weekend. This weekend I get to hang out with an old friend of mine, play some games. Sunday night, I'll be doing some recording for the Monster Cast, which I'm really looking forward to. And it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be good. Last night, well, I guess the last several nights, on my secondary PC, I've been playing Doom 2. I mentioned this earlier, but last night, I went out and downloaded Doom Builder, which I haven't tried in a great many years. And I started poking around with Doom WAD creation. Now, this is not to say, hey, keep your eyes open for the new CF Mega WAD with all kinds of levels for you to enjoy. No, nothing like that. I was able to make a few basic sectors, a few basic rooms connect. I was able to lay down a few items. I was able to figure out how 3D editing works. I was able to test the level, but I'm pretty far away from being able to really make something. A big part of the way level editing worked in those 2D, those 2.5D, whatever you want to call them, first-person shooters, is creating, you would have a room, and then inside that room you would split it up into sectors, and those sectors would have different ceiling heights and floor heights, and that's how you would change the textures of certain parts of the wall. Like, so if you had a big circular room and you wanted to make like one line across the floor where the light was different, so you could do some lighting effects, you would cut the room in half and then a half again, and you'd have like a little sector. So you'd really have 3 rooms. You would have both sides of the streak of light, and then you'd have the light, and that's how it worked. A lot of splitting rooms up into smaller rooms, little divisions that the player would never perceive, but it was the way you would add detail. I was pretty good at that in Shadow Warrior, the Ken Silverman build engine. I got pretty comfortable with, but I have not quite figured out how to do that in Doom Builder. Now, to be fair, I only played with it for like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so. But I used to enjoy level creation very much, and it would be nice to be able to do it in Doom. Shadow Warrior had this thing where if you wanted effects to happen, you laid down a specific sprite that was invisible to the player when you actually played it, and then you would add numbers to that sprite depending on whatever effect you wanted to happen, which enabled a wide variety of effects and things that you could make happen with very little programming, but it was also complicated as all hell utilizing it. I would end up with a big page of notes, of what numbers I would add specifically, how and where to make things happen. And if you wanted to do something like, I don't know, make a door, then it really took some work. It seems like because of the limitations, Doom is a lot simpler than that. I was able to get some monsters down and a player starting point pretty easily. So that would be fun to be able to do that again. At the very least, I think it would make for a good video. So that was Doom 2, which has been a good game to revisit lately. Wow, and I guess that's it for this morning. I haven't really been too much into Steam. Usually I can talk about the wares and what's going on in Steam, but I played a little Doom 2, and that's about it. Hopefully this weekend I'll be able to do some more gaming, but we'll see. My life has gotten busier as it does around this time of year, and it tends to stay that way until the end of September. And then when October hits, I can breathe a sigh of relief, and I've got some more free time. So right now, the focus is on games I can play for short periods of time. I harken back to when my son was born, and I tell this story a lot, but when my son was a newborn, my favorite video game system was the Atari 2600, and the reason why is because no games had any loading, no games had any title screens, no games had any instructions. It is the only real experience I can think of where you can literally turn it on and play an entire session and then turn it back off inside of 60 seconds. Play any high score based arcade game and crank up the difficulty, and then you can just scratch down your score on a piece of paper. I've wanted for a while to get the Atari out. I don't know where on the counter I would put it or on my television, but I think playing Atari again would be fun. It's been a couple of years since I got it out last. I've been back and forth to MagFest a couple of times, and I've acquired some new Atari games that I don't think I've even tried yet. That would be very fun. I dig Atari. And it's off to work. I am going to go and put my day of work in. It's Thursday, so tomorrow evening I should be sitting down with the fail bag, which you'll hear in just a few minutes. We should have a good one this week. I just got an email from Hemrock that I have read, and I'm excited to answer. And we'll have some good Famicom discussion and other things.
Welcome back from the Vancast. We're here nice and comfortable in Panzer Studios. Just want to take a minute to remind you, fine gentlemen out there, that this is a Patreon-supported podcast. Many, many thanks to those of you who are supporting and keeping me coming back every week. I wish I could put into words how much a difference it makes. So I'll spend an hour a week putting it into words for you guys. Those of you who are supporting, I'm putting the MP3s up early as soon as I get it done, which is the vast majority of the time is Friday night. And I also like to give a little tip of the hat specifically to the supporters, and they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Six Health of Fury, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys very, very much. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to Patreon. Doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to go crazy. Don't break the bank. But yeah, a little something. Thank you guys very much, and I hope, it is my dearest hope, that you guys feel like you're getting your money's worth. Because I'm doing what I can to live up to every penny. We got some really good stuff on the fail bag coming up. Hemrock has written in, got one from, believe it or not, Carl Triverse, from formerly of Scenic 7 PR, wrote in. I don't think his is a fail bag email. This is where it gets sketchy for me. I'm gonna double check. I stand by one moment. I'm certainly not gonna read a private email over the podcast. Some of these guys who I've known from podcasting for years and years and years, those lines get blurry. So I think I'm going to hold on to this one. Yeah, I'm going to hold on to this one because it doesn't say failback. My apologies, Carl. But in case you're listening to this particular episode, it's great to hear from you, man. And I hope you're doing well. Gaming on Batteries, he reacquired. Right? Gaming on Batteries was a magazine that he ran a very long time ago, before I had a smartphone, and I have one now. I don't have anything that plays 3DS games, but I have the smartphones, so I could partake of the Gaming on the Batteries. So you have my interest, dear friend, and I hope your life is going well. Let's play one more chiptune, and then we'll return and and enjoy the full girth of the fail bag. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio, episode 197. Wowie zowie, when does the madness end? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the fail bag. Let's see, how am I going to do this? So I've got one from Hemrock, and I think Hemrock's email is going to be the meat of the fail bag. So we're going to get to that one last. First things first, I'm going to head over to, this is from YouTube. Death Adder writes in, excuse me. During my recent trip to Lugmorse One Land, I saw some Super Famicoms, but they were insanely priced. Perhaps it was the long reach of Pete Dorr, because that particular area was geared towards adult weebs with round eyes and double XL button-down Frieza t-shirts. Photo evidence down below. By the way, you can head over to my YouTube channel at Tigerclaw TV, and he's got a link here you can follow. And the link he shows appears to be a couple of Famicoms. These are not Super Famicoms. These are standard family computer systems with the red and white cream. This is the what I want. Back to the email. The idea of getting into the Super Famicom never really occurred to me, and I should probably fire up some ROMs to expand my horizons. The one video game purchase I made was a cheap 1,200 yen game, just as a souvenir, called Psycho Pass. I bought it on the Xbox One in order to troll the entire country. However, it appears to be 100% in Japanese, and as fate would have it, one of those storybook-type games. I might just spam the A button while I'm doing other things around the home, just to see if I beat it. I get more amusement out of Swingle hating Dark Souls than I ever did out of actually playing the game. There is something that went on between those two. And then he writes, in addition, TCR 196. Question. Sonic Mania is out now. Any hype for it? You know, Death Adder, I gotta be honest. The hype doesn't come to me for the modern Sonic games until one of my friends buys one and tells me it's awesome. That's usually what I wait for. Because I wasn't a Sonic fan growing up. I don't have the same filter that the right-thinking, rational Sonic fans have. You know, the few that are out there. So we shall see. I have not heard much about this game except that I know that it exists. I'll take a look. I'll get back to you. I hope you had a good time in Japan. I would also like to get some of the Japanese hardware for the Nintendo. As far as whether or not you should get into it, I think buying a Super Famicom, I don't see... Here's the thing. The Super Famicom cartridges will play on your regular Super Nintendo. The only thing is, there's two little plastic tabs that they put inside of a Super Nintendo slot in order to block them out. So that rather than a Nintendo where the actual pin count is different, this is merely just form factor which blocks it out. And you can get a pair of pliers, so they say, and mod it to make it work. I am interested in getting pliers and making and unlocking the region code with pliers in my Super Nintendo. I think that's a much more cost-effective and reasonable way to do it. Versus the Nintendo, wherein the American Nintendos have 72 pins, the Japanese ones have 60. So you either have to have a converter or you have to have the legit system. I'm concerned, though. Those of you guys who import things, help me out here. On the Japanese... on the Famicom systems, the Japanese Nintendos, are the A and B buttons reversed? Because I'm kind of afraid they are, and I don't. And I'm gonna buy a Nintendo, or excuse me, a Famicom, and it's gonna show up, and those buttons are gonna be reversed. And I'm gonna be like, these games are unplayable, man. I can't do this. Please let me know. I have not yet taken the time to do the Googlins, which I know I should. But, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if I knew it was coming. I think that's everything. So have you... Oh, wait. So, Death Adder, have you returned to the United States then? It sounds like the way you worded it during my recent trip. So I guess that trip has ended? Are you safe and sound within the United States? Or Canada, or where the hell it is you're from? Are you Canadian? No, you're not Canadian, are you? Dude, where are you from? I don't know. I just know you were in Washington, D.C., and I had no idea. You mentioned you drove or flew into Washington D.C. before leaving the country, and that's so close to my house. I would have, had I known, I would have driven out. We could have like gone to a Subway and had like a quick sandwich, shot a YouTube's video, or fuck it, just had a conversation in person. I would have driven out there for a 10-minute conversation in person. If that's not too weird. If you got one of those IRL phobias, I mean, that's okay too. I certainly don't blame you. I wish you safe journeys and hope you had a good time. So the only other message I have in the fail bag is from Hemrock, and it's a real big one. But Hemrock, being a podcasting veteran and a video game scholar, his emails tend to really get things going, more like an agenda for a complete podcasting. So let's dive right in and start breaking it down. He writes, "Hey CF, all right, here's my email with my thoughts on several topics mentioned in the last 2 renditions of TCR. Buckle in, it's a long one. I've really been enjoying the last couple of episodes, especially the Famicom talk. Famicom carts are some of the coolest / iconic pieces of retro gaming goodness." Period. Okay. I screwed up my intonation on that sentence. Bear with me, I'm going to hop back a half step. Famicom carts are some of the coolest / iconic pieces of retro gaming goodness. There we go. Period. End of sentence. I don't have many Famicom games, but one that I would like to recommend to you, especially since you like high score challenge type games, is Astro Robo Sasa. S-A-S-A, all caps. Funny name, but serious game. You play a guy with a gun in a low gravity environment. You are given a limited amount of energy, and each time you use your gun, you'll use up energy. You use the gun to propel yourself in the air, avoid obstacles, and destroy enemies. The point of the game is to collect all the E-tanks on the screen, using the least amount of energy possible while still picking up points by picking off enemies. It might be helpful to watch a YouTube video to put the gameplay in perspective. You can pick the game up for about $5 to $8 online. However, if you're really trying to get into collecting Famicom games, buying cartridges in lots is probably the best way to go, as I think it's the cheapest in the long run. Anyways, what Famicom games have you been digging? All right, Hemrock, I'm gonna take a break from this email so I can kind of break these down rather than just doing the whole thing in a wall and then going back through it. So let's talk about Astro Robo Sasa. Now, I have already bought my first Famicom game based on a recommendation, and that game is Cycross, which was recommended to me by 2011 version of Hemrock. So if you ever feel like getting back into the YouTube biz, or not even YouTube, get a nice VidMe channel going. I got Cycross on the Famicom, which I seem to remember being the same game, but for whatever reason the title is spelled slightly different. Got that game. Astro Robo Sasa sounds great. Your description kind of makes it sound like a more action-oriented version of Solar Jetman, which is an old favorite of mine. And what Famicom games have I been digging? All right, man, so here's the story. I bought Famicom games with my weekend fun money for a couple of weeks in a row. I did this after I bought my converter, okay? Now, note that my converter is from AliExpress, and therefore it's shipping from China, and all of my games are shipping from Japan. So for whatever the reason, maybe it's the company I bought from, maybe it's the international travel, all of the games are showing up before the converter. So I don't have the converter yet. As a matter of fact, when I got home from work today, there was a small package, and I was super excited. And I opened it up, and it didn't have the converter. It had one lowly loose Famicom cart, which was Nintendo Baseball, the blue cart with the lightning bolt on it. Those generic lightning bolt cartridges from like the Japanese version, their version of the black box games, I guess. So what have I been digging? The only real game I can say I've been digging is Dr. Mario, because I bought Dr. Mario in the Famicom, and I also have the American Nintendo game, and I've played that several times with my son in anticipation of unlocking the Famicom magic. So let's return to the email. He writes, "You mentioned arcade games for the NES such as Millipede. Have you tried out Galaga for the NES? I love me some Galaga, and the NES version isn't half bad." I've seen tons of import games in the wild, but they're usually overpriced. For better or for worse, eBay is probably your best bet. There was a time where I could buy a Super Famicom game off of eBay and either break even or net a small profit in a store credit by exchanging it at the local game store. All right, we're going to break from the email. I have not yet purchased... I've just been buying them off eBay, but I haven't done lots. I can tell you the place that I shop, because the way I do it is I shop exclusively at one specific store, unless I find like a crazy deal. That way, because they combine shipping, so I wouldn't say I'm getting deals per se, but I'm buying lower end games at about what they're worth. These games are sold for $1 on their regular ticket price, and their shipping is $2 a piece, and then each additional game is $1. So the first game will be $3, and then the next one will be $2, and then another $2, and then another $2, and so on and so forth. I spend about $10. I order about 6 games. That's the way it's been going down. Now there's not many of those $1 tier Famicom games left that I'm interested in buying. My interest now is to getting some of the Neketsu games, I guess they're called. The River City Ransom series, there's a whole series of those games. I want to get some of those, especially the game we know in the emulation world as Ricky Kunio. I believe that game is about $10 to $13, and I would spend $10 to $13 on that game. 4-player Smash Brothers style brawling game using the River City Ransom characters. It is everything that you would think it would be based off of that sentence. Let's get back to the email, which I've clicked away from, so I should know better than to do that. Back to the email. He says, Ultima Exodus, which is Ultima 3, is actually a pretty fun game for the NES, particularly if you knew how to exploit the game mechanics. I think Dumas said something about attacking the town guards. I don't quite remember doing that, but I vaguely recall fighting a bunch of bandits and rushing into their supposed hideout and stealing all their money. Man, that was fun. That is one of the few NES RPGs that I played to completion. I think you might like it, but I don't think it's worth $15, especially when you can buy the first 3 Ultima games for the PC on GOG for $6. By the way, I think there's a GOG sale going on right now. All right, break from the email. Yeah, I want the GOG versions. I've wanted the Ultima versions on the the Ultima Nintendo games for a very long time, though. So I think I might buy that one cheaper one of the Nintendo games. The one I don't know. If you look up Ultima NES and you sort by price, there's clearly one lesser expensive of the two. I think it's Ultima 3. I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. I grew up knowing those games as PC games. So yeah, the GOG version it's a different beast. If you look at the GOG game, the classic PC games, and you look at what they're selling on Nintendo, they're vastly different. They're not the same. So I'm just thinking them as different experiences. I'm not even putting one above the other. It's just they're different games. That's in my head the way I sort it out. Let me know if you think differently. Let's get back to the email. He writes, Konami wasn't the only company to have a subsidiary like Ultra Games. Acclaim and LJN had a similar relationship. Hey, Sendu, if you're out there, whatever happened to the Famiclone CF sent you? I'm kind of curious. I still remember that little console CF showed off on YouTube years ago. Good DOS games. Colonization. GOG has it for cheap. Master of Orion 2. Another great and cheap GOG title. Commander Keen Goodbye Galaxy has a special place in my heart from childhood. DuckTales. Yes, this is the PC version, and it rocks. It's completely different from the NES version. I think I might actually prefer it over the PC version. You can even play it on archive.org. Scorched Earth is another good DOS game. I think it's freeware now. XCOM UFO Defense. Let's take a break from the email and go over this. Yeah, a lot of the games I mentioned. Let me take that back. Commander Keen Goodbye Galaxy. That's Commander Keen 4. I believe Hemrock. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the one that's got the paddle war game in it, right? On the start menu. For no reason, they just add like a little Pong game, and it's supposed to be like Commander Keen playing it on his watch. Yes, that is a good game. I believe it's freeware. At least episode 1. Wait. No. Is that right? No. Goodbye Galaxy? Was that the first one? Was that episode 1? I'm going to look this up, dude. Let's take a break from the email. I'm going to figure this out. Because I played through those games as a kid, and I could not play through them as an adult. Commander Keen, Goodbye Galaxy. Let's take a look at a screenshot, then I'll know. I take it back. I'm completely wrong. Goodbye Galaxy was the very first one. Wait, now I'm not so sure. What was Commander Keen 1? No, Invasion of the Vorticons was number 1. Goodbye Galaxy was number 4. Yeah, I had it right. I should just erase all that so I sound like a genius. There you go. I've got my Commander Keen games all straight in my head, believe me. Let's get back to the email. What's good on the Famicom Disk System, you ask? Well, I don't have that console, but I image. I think he's trying to say imagine. I'm sorry, dude. That was uncalled for, and I apologize. I imagine Zelda, Bomberman, and Zanuck are pretty good, but I think those 3 had cartridge releases as well. Quick break from the email. All sound good. Here's the thing about the disc system. Seems like the games are really, really expensive. Yeah, it seems like they're mad expensive. But you're right. Those all sound good. We'll see. I haven't ventured into that territory yet. I must crawl before I can walk. Hence, my plan with exploring the Famicom and its sister system, the Disk System. I think I said that right. Okay, let's return to the email. I was fascinated with your mention of Wizardry 5. That is one of those games I came across years back, and I picked up, but never really dived into it. It seems a bit overwhelming. Any advice for those of you who wanted to get into the game? Any tips on character creation? Quick break from the email. Yes. Wow, it is a lot. It's very overwhelming, and I think I was able to move forward with it for 2 reasons. 1, because I watched my brothers play, and 2, because there's a little bit of knowledge carries over from playing the previous games. So you get to make 6 characters in your party. That's the first thing. You got to know how to break it down right. First thing I'm going to tell you, don't go with the party that it creates for you. If you first go to the list of characters, you can make 6 in your party, but I think you can hold like 20 total, and then you can pick out which from those 20 you want to actually go into the maze. Take your time, make your own characters. The first 3 on your list are going to be your front line. The last 3 are going to be in the back. My method has always been fighter, cleric, that's the front line, and in the back, thief, and then a wizard and a mage, or a thief and a mage and a mage. The front line, you got fighter, cleric. Those are 3 guys who can melee, and 1 healer. The healer can also melee. A cleric, think of a cleric more like a traditional Dungeons and Dragons priest. He can use maces but not swords. He can still throw down and go fisticuffs, but he not quite as well as a fighter. Can't use quite as much equipment, but he can heal. And then in the back, you have your casters. You need a thief because without one, you can't open locked chests. The thief is what finds the traps in the chests. That's an important part of wizardry. Every time you find a chest, you got to have the thief look for traps first. So that's my first tip. My second tip, oh wow, man, I want to just keep going with this game and just keep talking about it. I would say start with that. Start with that. Make your own party. Stick to something kind of like that. If you keep trying with character creation, you can get high scores in terms of like, all right, when you create a character, you get a certain amount of bonus points, and you can divide those bonus points up into how you want your character's strengths to be, such as strengths, which correlates to hitting power, and then something else I haven't played in a lot of years that correlates to hit points, etc., etc. The number of points you can distribute is different every time. So what we used to do is we would make a character, and if it was anything less than like 17, we would delete it. If they give you, 8 points to divvy, 8 is what you're going to give me? Oh, I'll just delete that character and make another one. Good side is we'd have a brawler party when we first started. The bad side was creating characters took every bit of all day. So, just some food for thought. These days, going back to play that game, I would make sure at least one guy had a high score. Maybe one of the frontliners. Interestingly enough, I was playing the ROM on my phone a couple years ago, and I got 60 points to divvy up. which is crazy. And I took a screenshot of it. I'd never seen anything like that before or again. Playing that game for decades. I guess you have to have played the game to understand the metric. But it's like a weird thing that he had that much starting points. Dude, Wizardry 5 is great. Play it, make the mistakes, and just dig in. Just dig in. Scratch the surface. Go play and fail, and it's okay. It's all right. You'll have a good time. I think so. You, of all people, who can appreciate this kind of game, I think you'll have a good time. I feel like we missed something, but let's go back to the email. A few more questions. Do you think it's difficult to find good deals on retro games in the wild these days? If so, why? If you are approaching the 200th episode, any big plans? Have you given any thought to releasing the Monstercast as the 200th episode? Any Monstercast updates? What's the question of the week? Well, I've probably worn out my welcome. I hope you're doing well. Keep rolling retro. Hemrock. Hemrock, old buddy, it's always good to hear from you. I especially enjoy the really long emails because it gives me a lot to go over. It gives the latter half of the podcast a little bit of direction. Let's go back and do the questions. Do I think it's more difficult to find games in the wild? Yes. I think there's there's more to it than that because it depends on what kind of games you're talking about. You said retro games. How retro? Where are you looking? For me, yes, it's a lot harder. I only find them really at conventions now. I used to find retro games lying around the thrift store once in a while. I don't anymore. It's taking me good, and I said this in previous weeks, but good deals are now years apart for me. So I'm reaching a point where it's like, okay, I get it. They're charging too much for Nintendo games on eBay, but I'm in my 30s now. If I want to play the games, I've got to pay the money. I waiting another 5 years for maybe a good game to show up is not really an option for me. And I just don't have it in me to do the yard sailing with the kids. So it's kind of sad, but I just want to play the games. So that's where I'm at with that. I absolutely think you're right. It's getting harder. But you know, what are you going to do? That's one aspect of how video games have changed over the last 5 to 10 years. And a lot of the change has been for the better. We've got the Raspberry Pi now, right? I remember how excited I was over the Ouya. You remember how I was like, oh, you could make it into an emulation machine. No, it's not so important. Now we got the Raspberry Pi for that. We've got every major system that's cartridge based has an EverDrive, right? I've got a flash cart. I don't have an EverDrive, but I have a flash cart for the Game Boy. Those things are fun. So here's another good one for you. Homebrew games, right? We've got new games coming out for Super Nintendo and Dreamcast and stuff like that. So it's a mixed bag. You really got to focus on the things that are good in your life, I think, is my creed in all aspects of life. And I apply that to retro video games as well. Focus on the things worth focusing on. Yes, it is more expensive these days. And if I ran a store, I think it would be more difficult than it is now. Right now, that means there's a handful of there's a handful of games that I would like to own, which have become the higher echelon expensive games that are now prohibitively expensive. I want to own my own copy of Metal Storm. It's over $100 now. I make my own money. I really thought about it. Just, I had one for 10 years that I borrowed and never gave back, and I finally gave it back, and I'm glad I did. And I think it might be fun to get one of my very own, so my friend and I both have one. Not quite there yet, though. Still enjoying my Famicom. I might go back and buy computer parts before I did that. 200th episode. It's funny, before you wrote that in your email, I really didn't give any thought to the episode number 200. I really didn't. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex Swingle would know the answer to this. I don't think I've ever done anything special for a numbered episode milestone. Have I ever done that, guys? I don't think I have. Might be worth looking into. I don't think I'm going to set the Monster Cast for 200, though. The reason is because I want it to coincide with a certain point in time. It is the end of summer special. For another reason, I'm finding it very difficult to get in guest spots. This Sunday, I'm hoping to sit down with Jerry Terrifying, which is going to be the crown piece of the Monster Cast that I plan to kind of model everything around, because that's the thing that everybody talks about from Monster Cast 1. So I really want to make sure that's good. After that, I've got some other things in store. We'll put it this way. After I talk to Jerry, I'll know how long it's going to be. I'll be able to make more fine-tuned, detailed plans like that. But we'll see. I'm kind of playing it close to the chest until I get that core piece out of the way, and we'll see what's up. You know what? It would be cool to sit down with Triverse again. He sent me that email, so I'll have to hit him back. We'll see what's going on. Triverse was also on the first Monster Cast. That'd be cool. If I haven't sat down with him in 6 years, he said. That would be nice for the first time in 6 years for him to return to Monster Cast 2. I think that would be poetic justice. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Like each stanza rhymes with the next. Question of the week. My throat is sore. I don't have a question of the week. What is your favorite Game Gear game? That's my question of the week. What's your favorite Game Gear game? My favorite would be the one I have the fondest memories of would be Shining Force. I played Shining Force recently for the Sega Genesis. I sat down with it on the Sega collection in Steam. So it's emulation, but one I've paid for, completely legal, on the table. It was good. I played through like the first 3 battles, and then I realized I reached a point where I discovered there was grinding involved. I didn't kind of remember it that way, but I played more Shining Force 2 than I did the first one. It was good. Game Gear. That's my question of the week. All right, boys and girls. I'm tired. If you're, so I'm gonna start to wind down here. And this is the part where I say, if you've stuck with me for 1 hour and 4.5 minutes, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your life, whatever it is you've done, wherever you're coming from to get to this moment. Thanks for inviting me into your iPod or your phone or whatever it is you're listening to. I appreciate it. The time time is the most valuable currency, and I am truly appreciative of the time you give me. I hope that your week is good, and believe me when I say I'm rooting for you. I really am. I'll see you guys next week. Make it a good one.